So this was the final NXT show, I guess you could say the go-home show, before NXT TakeOver airs live on the WWE Network in a 2-hour special this next Thursday on May the 29th. So I was really hoping for a big sell here by NXT because so far, apart from maybe Tyson, Curt, and Adrian Neville, the card doesn't really feel all that great. It doesn't really feel like a big special show in my opinion. It doesn't feel anywhere near the level of NXT Arrival, which was a great show in my opinion. It just, in my opinion, we needed some more matches announced. We needed some more build to it. We just needed it to feel a little bit more important. You know what? They did a decent job here announcing a couple more matches, continuing on a couple more feuds and adding a little bit of story to the main event of the show. So I'll give NXT credit. They did a decent job. You know, it doesn't feel like a great show, but at least now it feels like a solid show, which nonetheless I'm still looking forward to next week. If you have any comments on the show, please let me know down in the comment section below. I actually thought this show opened pretty well. I mean, we had Bo Dallas versus Big E in the win or go home match. The match where if Bo Dallas won, he would get an NXT Championship shot, but if he lost, he would have to leave NXT and go home, and by that they mean debuting on SmackDown this Friday. You know, I'm kind of surprised this match opened the show because it's had a little bit of story to it, and Bo Dallas has been a big character in NXT, but I guess you wanted the Adrian Neville, Tyson Kidd stuff to end the show, so this was the next best place to put a storyline like this. And also, I thought this would have been a good match to have at NXT TakeOver. I know they have 5 matches on the show, which is probably why they didn't do it at NXT TakeOver, but Bo Dallas has been a big part of NXT for this last year or so, or 2 years or so, ever since they've really rebranded. So it would have been good if they did this segment, which turned out to be very good, on the NXT TakeOver show. You know, I just look at Big E Langston, really, and I just see a very missed opportunity with his 5 gimmick and how over that was in NXT. And, you know, he did it in this segment, and it was still pretty much over with the NXT crowd. I really do think that is a missed opportunity for WWE, especially considering what he is now. You know, he was the Intercontinental Champion, and now he's just falling off the bandwagon a little bit, and WWE really don't know what to do with him. You know, the match between Bo Dallas and Big E Langston was good. I thought the match was pretty solid, actually. I especially liked the storytelling towards the end of Big E instead of Bo Dallas using the ring buckle to his advantage, when a while back it was Bo Dallas that used the ring buckle to his advantage to win the NXT Championship off Big E Langston at the time, who had been undefeated. So I thought that element of storytelling was pretty good. I was not really surprised when Big E Langston won, or Big E as we should call him now, especially after kicking out of Bo's finisher and WWE announcing that Bo Dallas is going to be on SmackDown, you know, this coming Friday apparently. So no surprise, Bo Dallas lost here and is now leaving NXT and going to the SmackDown roster. And so Bo Dallas is now gone from NXT, much to the delight of the Full Sail University crowd, which I think shows how well he's gotten over as a cheesy heel. You know, even though the gimmick was never meant to really be a cheesy heel, it kind of went that way, and then WWE had to call some audibles and stuff, but it shows how over that gimmick was to the sense that the crowd just want to see him fuck off. No, that's kind of good heat in my opinion. And the post-match segment with Bo Dallas addressing the crowd, freaking hilarious, you know, saying, I don't usually use language like this, but you guys stink. And then the crowd chanting, Bo, leave, Bo, leave. You know, I thought that was some pretty good fan interaction there and a nice little sort of, you know, app segment that they did. So, like I said, I thought the opening of the show was, you know, was a pretty good match, you know, pretty good storytelling in the match and an entertaining post-match segment. So I've got to give the thumbs up on this opening segment for NXT this week. You know, it makes sense that they're doing a Tyler Breeze versus Sami Zayn feud, you know, even though it is kind of a last-minute thing and, you know, obviously it's just a way to get these two on the card. You know, after what happened last week in the triple threat match with Tyler Breeze getting pinned by Tyson Kidd and, you know, Sami Zayn being distraught by the fact that he couldn't get the pinfall victory, you know, at least this match is happening at NXT TakeOver and not happening tonight in a main event or something, which is how I thought NXT would go about this. But, you know, it's very last minute, but it's a #1 contendership match, so it should have some bearing on the NXT Championship going forward. And really, out of those two, I expect Sami Zayn to win. You know, really on the surface, I would expect Sami Zayn to win, and maybe they could build up to a big match between Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn at the next big show. But part of me thinks that Tyler Breeze may get some kind of cheaty victory here, so they can have some kind of match on the NXT TV show down the line, really. I don't really know how to call this match, you know. If you want to set up a big match down the line, you can have Sami Zayn win here. But if you want to set up a, filler feud, I guess you could say, for Adrian Neville to maybe get to Sami Zayn, then you can have Tyler Breeze win this match, in my opinion. So a match we just had to pay for on pay-per-view is now all of a sudden a regular NXT match, which isn't even really in a featured spot. How does that really work? And also, why is Paige even on NXT now? She's not the NXT Women's Champion anymore. She just had to surrender the belt. I guess it's one of those cases of we had a little bit of time to fill. We know Paige is going to be over. Why not get her on NXT? I guess it was just one of those days in the writing team, I guess. This match was fine. It just really had no purpose, and I really had no reason to care about it as an NXT match. So I'm not bashing the match or anything. I just really had no reason to care about it, and especially seeing as it really had no bearing on NXT TakeOver, which I really felt this show should have been all really devoted to, and really most of it was, apart from this one match. I don't really understand why Adam Rose is facing Camacho in a match, especially when they're just about to actually face each other on NXT TakeOver. I understand the match ended in a count out, and that will allow Adam Rose to get his obvious clean victory over Camacho at TakeOver. I just wish they would have done something else other than have these two face off, even though they've already faced off numerous times, to actually continue this feud going forward. Even a backstage segment, or hell, heaven forbid, a promo segment really would have helped this feud going forward, rather than just seeing another match. Sometimes you just get tired of feuds being match, 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 or match, match, rubber match. It just kind of gets really repetitive at some stage. But I imagine that at NXT TakeOver, Adam Rose will get the victory over Camacho. It'll be another spotlight, but Adam Rose is being featured somewhat heavily on Raw and SmackDown right now. The way they built this storyline is fine. It's very basic. It's just one of those feuds there to get Adam Rose over. So we had Sasha Banks versus Natalya in the final semi-final match, of this NXT Women's Championship tournament. And you know what? I think NXT could have had a very interesting story if they had Sasha Banks win this match. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks, who is the best out of the BFFs, But I guess I can kind of understand why they didn't really go there, especially if they want to keep these two together and have them maybe both protect the title as the #1 heels, in the NXT Divas division. I really wasn't surprised with the result here either. Natalya got the victory over Sasha Banks, but I thought it was very interesting the way they booked the finish, with Charlotte sort of causing Sasha Banks to lose, so they're going to tease tension between these two, I guess, maybe turn Sasha Banks babyface at some point down the line and, have maybe Charlotte prove that she didn't need Sasha Banks all along to become this dominant NXT Women's Champion. I don't know, but it leaves a lot of possibilities, not just going into the final, which is going to be happening on NXT TakeOver, but further on, especially as I feel that Charlotte has really got to win this, so there's not really much point in putting the NXT Women's Championship on Natalya right now, is there? I know she's part of Total Divas, but we want to be putting our NXT Championships on people in NXT. So Charlotte will really have to win this match. She'll be the new #1 heel in the in the NXT Divas division, and Sasha Banks will be right there, and then they could probably do something with Charlotte and Bayley, maybe even Charlotte and Sasha Banks if they want to go there. So that's how I see the NXT Women's Championship match ending. It's going to be Charlotte getting the victory, in my opinion. Should be a good match, though. I mean, you've got a Flair versus a Hart, so it should work fine. So in our main event of the evening, we had Adrian Neville taking on Curt Hawkins, and I didn't really watch this match because this match really was very inconsequential. I could tell you who was going to win, really. It was very obvious, and I was only really interested in the segment once I saw some microphones in the hands of Adrian Neville and Tyson Kidd. Whenever you see a promo segment on NXT, it kind of feels special because you never ever seem to see promo segments on NXT, even though I think they should really happen a lot more on the show and break the monotony of the matches on the show sometimes. But they really needed to add some story. They really needed to add some heat to this rivalry, which has really only just begun and they really only just started to cultivate. And you know what? Adrian Neville, even Adrian Neville, in my opinion, did a solid job on the mic of trying to sell the storyline between these two. Essentially, Tyson Kidd is trying to use NXT as a launch pad to get back on the scene on the WWE roster on Raw and SmackDown, and Adrian Neville doesn't want to let him do that and wants to keep his NXT championship. It's a very simple storyline with two very simple characters. Like I said, they did a solid job here in actually selling the storyline. I had a little bit of heat with the fact that Adrian Neville said that the only person in your marriage leaving with a belt will be Natalya, which is the way it usually is. You know, I thought that was quite a funny line as well. And you even saw Tyson Kidd backing down the ramp, sort of going like that as well. I do think it'll be interesting in the sense that, you know, I know Adrian Neville is going to win. You know, Tyson Kidd isn't going to be winning the NXT Championship. There wouldn't really be too much point in putting the belt on him. I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not Tyson Kidd turns heel. Now, I think that will be a somewhat interesting part of this match, just to see if they will go there with a Tyson Kidd heel turn, because he has been looking a little bit heelish in his promo segments, in his backstage segments. I don't know whether it's a new attitude or edge they're giving to Tyson Kidd right now, but it would be somewhat interesting, even though I think Tyson Kidd is much, much, much better off as a babyface. He does work the mic pretty well, though, I'll say that. So NXT TakeOver, like I said, it feels okay. It doesn't feel like a big show necessarily, but we have a pretty good NXT Championship match. You know, Natalya versus Charlotte for our NXT Women's Championship match. The Ascension versus Kalisto and LO Cal, which kind of just feels like the Ascension versus another jobber tag team for the NXT Championship match. Sami Zayn, Tyler Breeze should be a good match for the #1 contendership for the NXT Championship. And Camacho versus Adam Rose really should be nothing more than a squash to get Adam Rose over. So if nothing more, the card for next week's TakeOver show does look pretty solid, if yet very unspectacular, especially if you compare it to Arrival, where you had Paige versus Emma, where you had Cesaro versus Sami Zayn, and you had Bo Dallas versus Adrian Neville in the first ladder match. So it does feel kind of underwhelming, but it still feels like a solid show, which, you know, I would watch regardless. So give me any comments you have on this week's edition of NXT, and give me, more importantly, any comments you have going into NXT TakeOver next week. It will be happening, I believe it's 9 Central or something. You'll have to check the WWE Network listings. I'm not sure what time it starts, but all I know is I believe it will start 2 a.m. my time or 1 a.m. my time. I actually don't know. I'll have to go check it myself. I'm definitely not missing this show. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you have, guys, make sure you check out NXT TakeOver next week. And that's been it from me until the SmackDown review tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.